Today we are diving back into the world of Ren. We are following up with part 2 of his documentary of the behind the scenes of how he filmed Starry Night. Now, last time we left off on a really bitter note. So he had this co-infection with the Lyme disease and the Bartonella, and your comments were telling me that he's going to talk more about that today, and he's going to talk more about his mental health and how he struggled with these physical health struggles and this condition, and the treatment that he's gotten for this eye infection that was apparently when he got hit in the eye during a shoot by rusted pliers, I think somebody said it was. But yeah, so there's a lot going on, and one thing that I saw was really encouraging last video was how his team really rallied around him, and they show a lot of concern for each other and are able to dialogue well, and just seeing how they respond as they're trying to get the shoot done, as they're trying to get this music video done, while also trying to get care for him because his eye condition has worsened at this point where this part 2 is picking up. So as you know, I'm a therapist. I'm coming into this with a mental health lens. So we're gonna watch this video. This is the first time I'm watching it. I'm gonna do some commentary along the way. Let's dive right into it.
Right, to tell the truth, I really didn't want to make a video. But I really didn't want to make a video because I like the world to see the best part of me. Like when I started making this documentary, I was like, in documentary, video diary, whatever, I was like, yeah, we can do this, man. You can it'll be fine. But I was in a good frame of mind then, and I'm in.
Wow, I didn't even know that he was starting to film himself back in 2013. I don't know if he was planning on this initially being part of a public record or even posting this at some point. I don't know where his career was at back in 2013. Man, that's a long time ago. But yeah, in the world of social media, we want to show the best parts of ourselves. And he said, like, at the time, I was feeling good about it. My mindset was different. I was in a different place mentally. But to have the courage at whatever age he was at, to be able to say, hey, I'm gonna show the real parts of myself. I can see that as a common thread with him and NF, that they're not just showing the highlights, that in their music, in their social media, they're about being real and showing both the ugly parts and the hard parts of life, in addition to the highs.
In a bad frame of mind now, but I promised myself that I was just going to carry on and do it so that people can see.
I remember dragging my knuckles across the floor until they were red raw and covered in blood. About a week before the shoot, I'd gone to get this tattoo that said "sick boy," kind of like as a form of alchemy, like not being a victim to my illness, just reclaiming it, being the owner of it, not letting it be the owner of me. And then I lost my sight, and I spent about a week in bed with this pain like an ice pick was being driven into my eye socket.
Yeah, what he's talking about with the diagnosis piece, that is how diagnosis should be used. It should not be used to define your life. And I know he's talking, and my inclination is he's talking about the Lyme disease or the Bartonella, which are physical conditions, but the same thing applies when we talk about mental conditions. I always encourage my clients, when they're talking about their diagnosis, to make sure that, yes, it's a part of your life. It could be a significant part of your life, but it's not your entire identity. Don't revolve your entire life around it, because then it begins to be all-consuming. It begins to start driving decisions, disregarding other values that you might have just for this particular condition. Oh, because I'm depressed, I should be this way. Or because I'm an anxious person, therefore I act this way. And so if we start to tailor our decisions solely around our diagnosis, that becomes unhelpful, where it's meant to inform treatment and be able to guide treatment. Then it becomes a guide for our lives, which becomes really unhelpful.
And then with my one eye that could see, I looked down on my knuckles and it felt like a bad omen. And I wanted it off my skin, it felt like a curse. So I put my knuckles on the floor and I grated them against the carpet. And obviously, it didn't all come off. And you can see the places where I was rubbing it today. But I kind of like it. It feels sort of poetic.
And from what I hear in that little verse, there's that struggle that he's still having in between, like, he initially had those tattoos done so he could take control of the narrative of his diagnosis. But there are some times when the diagnosis just hits back really hard, the condition hits back real hard, and then you struggle to think, am I actually in control or am I not? And that's where I was seeing a lot in the wrestling that he's done in the previous video. He's come to a place mostly of acceptance, but there are times where things flare up or are worse that acceptance can be really sorely tested. Where, yeah, he weighs the implications of his condition and the ways that it might impair his functioning as part of his decision making, but he doesn't revolve his life around it. But sometimes, like he said, sometimes the label fights back a little harder and you feel really out of control. I've seen that with a lot of clients, and it's really hard to fight against, and so that's why we try to move more towards acceptance rather than rejection or avoidance of the truth that you have this diagnosis, you have this condition. So let's figure out how to work around that, how to work with that. But like I said, it's easy for me to say, it's really hard to live out.
Kai made me do this video against my will. He told me if I wouldn't, I'd get another one of these in the other eye. We're back here doing a video I never wanted to make, but Kai pulls the strings. We're in the prison. Take 2, Vincent's Tale, 3 months after the first attempt, after a big health crash and dip. But now I'm feeling like we're gonna get it. Because if we don't, I'm gonna get it.
That's just a fun dynamic. Where I talked a little bit about his dark humor before, but this is more lighthearted, and he's coming back into the shoot with, it seems, more, not necessarily a positive mindset, optimistic in the sense of he believes that it can be done. Not optimistic in the sense of it will be done, but just like there's possibility there. There's opportunity for a redo. And he shows that with some of his humor, with some of the way that he's approaching this shoot. Which, I mean, seriously, after the events of the first one, which it sounds like they had to cut off and weren't able to really finish, to come back and be able to have that kind of attitude towards that and not be full of anxiety, full of trepidation, which maybe he's feeling, and we'll see some of that. But to be willing to do it, be able to joke about it and not just like, oh, let's get this done because, you know, Kai wants it done. That shows a lot of resilience on his part.
You took the shoot, didn't you?
There's more to music. Life is music. Music is the tongue in the mouth of Mother Earth, and her heart beating is the drum. Hear it, hear it, hear it. That's that sound in your test, and lets you know that you belong.
Have you worked out, like, I mean, I suppose it's just at the end of every line, we'll change camera angle.
Okay.
I think it's the easiest way of doing it. So we'll have, you do a look to camera, and then at the end of the line you look, and then we just know every time. We can then do it a couple of times if you look to the same place, and then we go to there.
Ooh, the detail involved. I didn't even pick that up when I was watching the music video itself, but now I'm going back to watch and see if they actually do that cut at the end of each line. That's really interesting. But what I'm noticing from the tone of this documentary is just like the atmosphere of the shoot seems a lot more tense already. Now, it could just be in the editing and the clips that they decided to show, but everyone seems a lot more business-like right off the bat. There's not as much joking around. There's not as much playing around with it. Probably because everyone kind of remembers what happened last time around. And so that's what I'm curious about is, are they recycling some of the footage from last time, or are they reshooting everything? Maybe we'll find out.
Who wants to be in this, potentially? Because I think we can do some fun
Who's
things.
going out today?
Have we got Connor?
Yeah.
Malevolent, degenerate, delegate. Incarcerate the truth, keep it separate. Is that frequent? I think it's delicate. They don't want me in the room.
Never mind. Connor seems to be pretty loose. Though I do wonder some of it, how much is it like their routine, they're getting into the mindset so they can do their job and being able to block out maybe some of the bad memories of what had happened previously. That part I don't know. I don't know any of these guys personally. I'm just kind of noting what I observe, that everybody does react to stress differently, and there's got to be stress. A lot of you commented that they lost a lot of money on this shoot, so I think that's on everybody's mind. And like, if we don't get it this time, what opportunities do we actually have to make this video a reality?
I'm an elephant. I get no satisfaction. I go stone.
This bit just feels like a natural head bobbing moment.
Yeah.
TC don't blink like the sun. Time don't wait. The show must go on in London underground. Come rain and thunder. Junkies, drums and punks stung by the hunger.
That's really interesting that he can also step into the mind of the viewer or the listener to be able to say like, oh, this is a head bobbing moment. Like he can feel that, he can recognize that, and to be able to say, hey, let's just mirror that in the video.
Do you want it to get sillier, or do you want it to like feel like those moments are just randomly interspersed in it?
What do you mean those moments?
Like the moments with like Connor in it.
Oh yeah, we'll just film some shit. 'Cause it doesn't necessarily have to be with me rapping in it. So like,
Yeah.
I'll just have the luxury then of putting it wherever you want in the edit.
Cool. Sick.
Yeah.
Nicely.
Think of won't let me add it to the rendering pile as soon as I start.
No, I didn't know.
Did I just see a stunt double on there? Maybe I'm just tripping.
So that night after the video shoot, I decided not to go to hospital. And I know a lot of people will think that was stupid, but I've spent so much time in hospitals, in waiting rooms for hours and hours and hours. I've lost count of the amount of hours I've spent in hospitals. So I was just like, I'm gonna power through. But I couldn't, because my body wasn't letting me.
That was one of the struggles that I talked about in the previous video, but now he's really kind of articulating the thought process that led to that. As he said, he spent so many hours waiting, trying to get treatment. And one dynamic that I touched on is that sometimes you have to be at a certain level of severity before you actually receive some kind of intervention. So just like, I don't know whether it'd be like painkillers or steroids or whatever, something that kind of holds you over so that maybe it doesn't get worse, but doesn't actually treat the problem. So I can get like, he wasn't trying to wait around for hours for them to tell him to go home and rest or to prescribe him something light that wasn't actually going to help anything in the long term. But yeah, I can get some of the frustration with that we kind of are told that you go to the doctor if something's wrong, but then he's had over and over, and this is other clients that I have with either health anxiety or chronic conditions that are implicitly told like, this system is not for you. We don't have something that works for you. And over time they get that message and they learn not to rely on that medical system, which can be to their detriment sometimes, like it did in Ren's case, but it's an understandable response.
Strange going back to Calgary, because I didn't expect to be there so soon. I've been home for 4 months and I was like fully prepared to like get back into life, and then life was crazy during that time as well. I just come off the back of this #1 album and I was just kind of ready to jump into life, so like having to end up going back, I don't feel very good about it.
Yeah, someone had commented previously that Ren had this period of time after the initial treatments in Calgary, like months of treatments, that he was declared in remission basically. And then to have that suddenly resurface, especially during the shoot, it was just a huge high with the celebration of the album to like being plunged right back to the depths of struggling with this condition and maybe not knowing what comes next. So he's back here getting treatments, and like he said, he didn't anticipate that. And so I am curious if he delves a little bit more into what his mindset was, what his thoughts were, and what he was feeling as he's sitting in the waiting room, maybe filling out paperwork again, not expecting maybe to ever be back there, or at least not so soon. And then especially in the contrast between the highs that he was experiencing to now being back, potentially feeling like he's in the same place that he was. This is something that my clients and I talk about in terms of relapse. Now, this isn't relapse in terms of a behavioral sense, but a recurrence of this condition where you thought you were good, you thought you were in the clear, and it can be so discouraging to have that flare up again. Whether it's addiction, whether it's a condition like the Lyme disease or Bartonella or the infection, whatever may be going on for him. But a lot of times if we bring that mindset of being defeated, of like, oh, I'm never gonna kick this, or I'm never gonna get past this, that can really be detrimental to our progress and change and being able to make positive change, because our minds have so much impact on whether treatment is effective or not. And so I am very curious about his mindset going back into treatment and getting this hopefully taken care of.
How is your schedule? Is it hectic? So
No, I've cleared everything so that I can try and get health back. Yeah. So I was talking to you, I was thinking about going off to Mexico, like you said, man. Yeah.
I do recommend latitudinal healing, you know,
Yeah.
as opposed to Canadian or
British.
healing.
Yeah. It's complicated because obviously with work you want to be in the thick of it, but
There's always this compromise. People want to keep doing what they love to do,
Yeah.
knowing that what they're doing is making them sick.
Yeah.
And then you got to make choices.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
That's what he was wrestling with that first video. Do I keep pushing through? Do I keep doing what I love, even if it might be costing me my health? Like he was saying, there could be some really long-term implications for choosing to power through, choosing to push through. So I think this doctor articulated it really well in that balance, especially if you have a chronic condition. If it's more acute, if it's something that like maybe an infection or a broken arm or something that sidelines you for a few weeks, a couple of months, maybe you can be okay resting and putting yourself on the side for that. But then if it's a condition that's with you for life, how much do you really compromise on what you're willing to do, what activities you engage in? Because if you don't have that joy in life, if you take all of that out of your life, you might be alive, sure, but that also becomes a really tough existence to live in.
And what your main symptom is still fatigue?
Fatigue, brain fog, it causes feelings of like anxiety and panic as well. Now that I've been on the antibiotics and I'm on the top dose, that's gone now, but before I got on them, I was like feeling just like a sense of anxiety, dread, just all the time for no discernible reason. Brain fog, confusion, depression.
Brain fog lifted a little bit?
A lot.
Oh, that's interesting. And so this is really helpful that he has a holistic, bigger picture of his condition. Because a lot of my clients, I'm not a doctor, so this is where I would probably miss the forest for the trees. But if you just came into me describing all of those symptoms, I'd say probably depression or some kind of anxiety disorder, which he might still meet the criteria for. But if he's noticing also that when he's taking the antibiotics and the infection is under control, that he doesn't experience those symptoms. So yeah, maybe I could treat the symptoms of the depression or the anxiety, but it's always worth asking, is there something bigger going on that might be causing it? And that's why I will ask a lot of questions about their overall health. Has anything changed recently? Medications that you're taking? Because all of that impacts our mental health. I would be doing my clients a disservice if I can help them treat maybe some of the brain fog or the anxiousness or the panic, but then we never get any closer to figuring out why that's actually happening. And that's where I would encourage them to work with their doctor about it, maybe have open lines of communication between me and their doctor or other practitioners or other providers that are working with them, so that we can try to get at like, how can we actually take care of this problem instead of just treating the symptoms? But all that being said, I've never heard of an infection that can directly cause those things. Now, if he had health anxiety, that would be a different thing. But I could see maybe where the infection was maybe messing with functions with his heart or with his nervous system, and maybe that could bring on some of the symptoms of anxiety. But you know, that's just me guessing at this point.
It would be good to get about 6 months worth of Chromalin, Adderall, 5 milligrams, just enough to see me
So
for
just
a while.
speak to Jamea,
Yeah.
get everything you need, she'll write it all out
Brilliant.
and just sign it. Yep.
Yeah, brilliant.
What's on the menu today?
Pills, mate.
Is the medical system in Canada just that different? Because it looked like he was just able to shop for his medications. And I did see a sign about supplements, so maybe those are supplements. But unless those really were just supplements and not prescription medications, I don't see that ever happening in the US where you got a basket and you're going and picking off your medication off the shelf. Somebody who's familiar with the Canadian system, please let me know what's going on there.
And then are you doing any probiotic?
I am, yeah.
And methylene blue, you're just doing 25 and you're going to work up.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you're doing Zithro 500?
Yeah.
And Rifampin 1200?
Yeah, that's right.
Are you doing any biofilm busting?
Yeah, so I'm taking the MCM, I think it was called, right? The one that you guys do.
EFM.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And then
How many are you taking?
I'm taking 2 capsules a day.
2 capsules. Go to 2 twice a day.
I can up that.
Man, that's a whole cocktail of pills. So it looks like those are supplements, so my mind's a little at ease there. But what this is really illustrating too is why I never try to be more of an expert on somebody's condition than they are. He clearly knows what has been working for him and what has not been working for him, and he's very well versed in the different supplements and medications that he's been taking. So he's able to have this dialogue with this doctor who went to school and has all the training and all of that. But this is where I try to never disregard the client's experience of their condition. Now I'm making a lot of parallels between kind of the physical health and the mental health piece, but right, he's living through it. He knows what the symptoms are, and my role as the counselor is to ask questions that help people formulate this big picture idea of what their condition is, how they can live with it, how they can treat it, what skills they can develop, what interventions they can use for themselves to be able to maintain the standard of living that they would like to have.
So I've got Adderall 5 milligrams,
Yes.
Wellbutrin 150,
Yeah.
and then Cromolyn 400 twice a day.
Yeah.
Okay, Adderall is an ADHD medication. If that's for anxiety, I don't think I've seen it used that way. The Wellbutrin could be an antidepressant. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I've just seen these medications come across my way with clients a bunch of times. So I am curious if he has a diagnosis of ADHD or if it's being used off-label for something else.
Spent about 3 weeks there on various drips, in bed a lot of the time. Put me on a bunch of new meds and antibiotics and stuff, and I was feeling pretty rough, I'm not gonna lie, like rough physically, but also just like I felt so fucking pissed off that I hadn't done that video yet. It's all.
Yeah, so this is also where some of his drive is really going to be an obstacle for him. Maybe not an obstacle, but just in the sense of like, it'll be a challenge for him to be sitting still when he knows he has work unfinished that he really wants to get to, something that he's really passionate about. And this is a difficulty too, when you're in bed for that long, if you're taking all these meds and having to really change your activity level to accommodate the condition that you're dealing with, a lot of times that can bring on its own kind of depression with the radical shift in lifestyle that you're experiencing, where he was on the go, doing a lot of things, being really creative and being very active in the creation of those things, to suddenly like, you're almost confined to your room, confined to your bed, whether because of the fatigue or just because though that's the way the treatments go. That's a really tough adjustment. And that would definitely be something that I would pay attention to. If a client said that they had a radical change in lifestyle, they would pay attention to if we start seeing symptoms of depression start to creep in.
I could think about, man, I just wanted to finish it.
Dude, I'd never be able to talk if I had a camera this close to my face. I don't know. I know it's artistic and he's got a purpose for it, but man, that would be so unnerving to have something right up on you like that.
I think push me to the bed, I'll fold my hands forward.
Yeah.
Like that. You grab my hands, put them behind my back.
Yeah.
And then just kind of reach to the back and bring it upwards, and we can cut on that.
Rolling.
Alright.
Get the fucking bed, cut!
Oh wait, grab my arms.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Also, can you wait for action?
Fucking hell! Fucking like a bitch!
I can appreciate that they're still having fun. This is part of like, when we're talking about coping with the stress response, which, you know, being back in this place could have been a stressful thing, and they could have really felt the timeline of like, we've got money on the line, we already lost money on this shoot, and this is our second attempt, what if something else flares up? But to be able to enjoy the process of filming and to still be able to joke and be able to, you know, maybe intentionally mess up takes just for the fun of it. You know, they could have gone in the complete opposite direction, like all business. What are you doing, man? Why are you messing around? Like, we got to get the shoot done. Like, what if something else goes wrong? But no, like when we're too purpose focused in our life, that takes a lot of the enjoyment out of it, and it makes it hard to really be living fully. So I'm glad that they're able to have moments of levity like this, where they're just having fun, doing something that they really love, despite the shadow kind of hanging over this second attempt at filming.
Make my way, I'll make my way, believe me. Life can be so trouble, honey, nothing comes easy. They say that sleep is the cousin of death, and so I keep pushing forward till my last breath.
I haven't slept in almost 3 whole nights. The sun, it hurts my eyes, and I prefer the night when the world, it doesn't move. My brain don't feel right, feels computerized. No switch can still my mind, chemicals don't seem to soothe. So I lie awake, just making beats and breaks. It's like the music takes me to a place where there's no pain. So I'll make my way. Yeah, I'll make my way.
Oh yeah, I didn't realise how hard it was going to hit me. I've got my fucking mouth sores and shit growing, and shit's fucking me up.
What causes that? Do you know?
It's just such a high dosage of antibiotics. It's akin to It's akin to like chemo without your hair falling out, really. Because it's like,
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that when he was talking about the probiotics also. My understanding is if you take high dosage of antibiotics, or even like any dosage of antibiotics, that also tends to kill the healthy bacteria that you have in your body that normally fights off infections or keeps infections from taking hold. But so if he's taking like a really high dosage, then he's also got to take the probiotics, and that might be what he's talking about, that there's just a bunch of other stuff going on because of the heavy dose of antibiotics that even the probiotics can't really prevent, but just to try to keep it from being worse. And then on top of that, if he's not able to engage in the activities that he usually does, maybe there's a change in energy and all of this, and so his body's adjusting to a lot right now. I've got some ideas about how his mental health kind of interacts with all of this, but I want to see if he touches on that first before I say it.
lots of stress on your system.
Yeah. But things have gotten loads worse. In the past 3 weeks, I've been getting out of the house about 5 minutes a day. I wake up and it feels like I haven't slept for about a month.
And now I can just notice, I've noticed the weight's falling off me.
Because I've lost half a stone. I weighed myself this morning. It's fucking scary. Because I'm just getting older and I'm just spending the life in this bed.
Yeah, and this is some of the mental health stuff that I'm seeing, where he's very intentionally juxtaposing what he was experiencing in 2013 to relatively currently, those same fears of, am I just gonna spend the rest of my life in this bed? Is this a life worth living? What's going on with me? What's going on with my body? All of those are coming back. And I don't know that it's a specific trauma, if he's diagnosed with PTSD or not, but there is a significant impact. Even if we don't say it's a trauma, there's a significant impact because all of those memories drive the narratives that he is thinking in his head right now, feeling in his body right now. And what I see in this video is a very intentional way of retelling that story. I don't know how it ends yet, but this is a very kind of narrative focus. If someone had brought this to me in kind of a written form or shared it to me in a counseling session, I would say this is a really narrative approach to engaging with the trauma that you've experienced. And so I can see his very intentional storytelling of sorting through the different memories of both past and present of what is affecting him right now.
Stop it. Well, the life is good and I will get better. And I'm determined that there's something that I can do.
That's why I want to get home, man. I want to get the I really want to start the whole fire oxygen thing again, because I think that was helping some of the side effects last time.
So I remember we got a notification through that said Ren Gill had booked an appointment, which we thought was really cool at the time. Me and Joe knew of Ren from just busking around Brighton, and when he came in to breathe, he did not look good. And I think on the first time he was in there, we left him in there for about 2 hours, and he fell asleep straight away, so I think he needed it.
It's a strange thing, doing a new treatment when you've been sick for 15 years, because you feel like you want to hope, right? Because you wouldn't be doing this thing if you didn't hope that it would offer some sort of relief, make you feel marginally better, but...
I keep looking for a cure, and I've done so much things. I've spent thousands of pounds. I spent thousands of pounds. I've gone to hospitals. I've gone to some of the best specialists in the world.
When you've been sick for that long, and when you...
That's the really tough reality of this kind of chronic condition that just won't go away. You can hear the despair in his voice. I've spent so much time, money, energy trying to find anything that works. And yeah, he's right. There are some, you hold out hope, oh, this experimental technology or this new thing, this will be the breakthrough, this will be what works. For a lot of people, there's only so many disappointments they can experience before they stop trying or they give up. And that's a really sad place for people to be at, where they've just tried. And I've seen clients who I've tried so many different therapies. I'm just here because I'm supposed to be what are you even gonna do? That's gonna be different from my, dozen other therapists or psychiatrists or psychologists that I've seen. And yeah, there's not an easy answer to that.
You've tried so many things, what feels like everything, and then you just end up sick again. It's that hope has been followed by disappointment so many times that to trust something feels scary. So in the end, you just feel like you're going through the process is numb, because it feels too dangerous to hope. So you just do it. I feel like a robot, and you just do it.
Yeah, That's such a good way to describe it. Yeah, a lot of my clients have cut themselves off from hope because it's too painful. Like, they don't trust themselves to be optimistic or have hope that something will work anymore. Yeah, they'll go through the motions like he's saying, but sometimes being able to walk a client through the process of being able to trust something again, trust themselves again, or to have hope in anything, that can be one of the toughest things to see when somebody's really given up on things and are still kind of like going through life, but just really don't feel safe enjoying it or thinking that there might be something good at the end of it. And this is where I'll bring up what I've been reading recently. It's a book called Primal Intelligence, and the author talks about when dealing with trauma specifically, one of the things that can be really effective is to be able to rekindle a sense of wonder and surprise, positive surprise in our own lives. Like, we expect the worst so much because of the way that our beliefs have been warped and shaped by trauma, that if we can tell ourselves stories of, oh, remember this time when things looked so bleak and there was this positive surprise plot twist. And we can't make that up for ourselves, but to really be able to tell that story and remind ourselves, hey, sometimes things turn out right. Sometimes things turn out good. And he said that in the research, it didn't help to read somebody else's story. It had to be your story. And so that can be difficult when somebody's just had bad circumstance after bad circumstance and they don't feel like there's anything positive in their lives. But one of the things that I think is really helpful in Ren's case specifically is that creativity, his ability to connect different ideas and juxtapose different things and tie them together. That can also create a sense of wonder, of discovering some new connection. That's also something that's really protective against some of the more damaging effects of trauma.
I thought I'd play the start of a brand new song that I've just finished.
And then I think Ren came pretty much every day for the next few weeks. And it was quite nice to start watching sort of colour get back into his face. And he became a bit more talkative and sort of more himself.
It's alright, it's okay. Feeling brave, gonna face this day. It's okay, it's alright. No tears won't kiss my cheeks tonight. It's all good, and I'm just fine. My words ring out like hollow shells. Just slow down, it takes time. But time moves slow, I know this well. My heart breaks 1,000 times a day. I can't do it for much longer. But for every hope that dies, another one takes its place. Because I have the strength of a mountain. Hi. I've got the courage of the deep blue sea. I have the heart of a lion. The stars burn bright inside of me. And although you test me, my God, I stand so proudly, can't you see?
Man, that song just sums it up so well. You know, whether he was singing about an aspiration that he has of one day I'll be like this, but that's the story that if my client can capture that for themselves, that's just such a powerful thing. Like, yeah, there'll be disappointments. There'll be 1,000 disappointments in a day, but I can keep getting back up. I can keep going. I have strength. I have power. I have will. And not just like a fight through the trauma thing, but just knowing that sense of security and stability in yourself, that's resilience.
I've got the strength of a mountain, so I'll take all you throw at me.
How old are you now, Ren?
34.
You're gonna have hair for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
You'll be fine.
I've got a little bit of a receding going on.
That's not big hair, man.
This isn't for the battle, right? That's a secret. And my eyes are not in searing pain today, which is nice to talk.
What's that?
It's this thing. You're speaking to me, so it records video.
Well, yeah, but what does it do?
It makes videos.
But like, what's it for though?
To record you.
What's in it?
Who punched you?
What?
Who punched you? George.
You Ren. Right.
You're in the way, Brigitte.
You're in the way again.
You're so mean.
Hey, this is really interesting. So we're on day 2 of the shoot, and everything does feel a little more lighthearted. And I do wonder sometimes, you know, my clients just need like that one win, that one turning the corner to be able to have more of that optimism, to have more of that confidence. And it does seem like they got through the first, maybe more tense day of the shoot where everyone's like just waiting for something to go wrong. And they've got through day 1, they're on day 2. I think there's just a lot more rejuvenation. There's a lot more levity. they're able to engage with each other a little bit more, and we're seeing that just like, hey, maybe we're in the clear, maybe things will turn out okay.
You excited for the chaos to begin? Yes, you like chaos?
I'm just looking at this shoot, and like if they had messed up a take where they're making a mess and all that, I don't even know how they clean stuff up to try to recreate the mess in a second take. But like that's part of it, where like that's the kind of challenge that he's really looking forward to, the creative challenge, not the repetitive health challenges that are just discouraging, but like having this creative problem in front of him. And they just seem so energized by being able to do this together.
The national Wales dance.
That's the national
Welsh.
That's our traditional dance.
Fuck off, look. No, it looked. Some of it looked really lit. I think it did look. The fire stuff. We did really like the fire.
Show me and your reactions. Oh, good, very good. Oh. Excited Ren, surprised Ren, angry Ren.
Hey, that's how you know he's on YouTube. He can make the YouTube thumbnail look.
Yeah, nice, bro. Nice noises. Lovely A24 intro.
Release days are a little bit weird for me. I've always had this thing where when I release a song, it doesn't feel like mine anymore as soon as it's gone. It feels like it doesn't belong to me.
We touched on this dynamic before. When I reacted to some of Ren's videos earlier on, a not insignificant number of people would comment like, oh, you got this wrong, you interpreted this wrong, you need to watch more of this. You know, all of these things that were like critiquing my perspective that I was coming from. And totally fair if I don't know a lot of the background. I haven't been watching and listening to Ren all that long, and so there's gonna be a lot that I miss. Totally fair for you to point that out. But to get nasty about it and say like you're not taking it seriously, or like you're coming at this with bad intentions, or you're just trying to make a quick buck off of him, this is a postmodern literary interpretation theory, where it's like the artist puts something out or the writer puts something out, and then what's actually created is when the viewer, the listener, the reader, whoever interacts with that work, they create something new. New meaning comes out of this. And you see this in reaction videos. Like that is the purpose of reaction videos, is because everybody gets something different out of the work that they're consuming, out of the same work that they're consuming. So his whole welcoming of reaction videos is very in line with this postmodern theory of like, let me put something out there and other people interact with it, and out of those interactions, new art is created. Something new happens with that.
I believe that. Yeah, that's sick. Come on.
Yeah, come on. Not ready for that.
Yes, I am the democracy. Hypocrisy is synonym entwined. He could rape me and deliver him, position him in line, and then imprison him, condition him in school.
You know, something else, I didn't think too much about him doing kind of the live releases and he's watching along. But what's really cool with these premieres also is that he's not just creating the work and then moving on to the next thing. Some artists that I've read about, heard about, or seen have difficulty with this. They have trouble celebrating their own work. And for him to be able to sit down with his fans and watch this live premiere together with them, and to really be able to celebrate like, oh man, that's cool, or like that came out a lot better than I thought, or you know, just to be excited about his own work, that seems to be a really healthy thing for him, to be able to celebrate like the journey that got them to this finished product in the end.
Making blasters, they christen him the father, son, the ghost will not remind. We are divine, we use potential when we gravitate degree. We are benign, we turn to cancer when we take more than we need. We are designed to be magnificent, we waste that when we walk. Starry Night, apply a Vincent inside Cellblock 44. I fought war inside myself, the war of every working man. War of what's and why's and how's, and when's the time to take a stand? Who's the one to put me in my place? You, or is it God? It's compliance, staying silent. If the violence comes from love, I come from war.
Oh, I feel quite emotional.
So good.
Does that feel good?
Yeah.
Little thing that I noticed. But for a guy to ask another guy, like, that feel good? Like, that's not something, at least in the US, that's not something that you normally hear. So for him to sincerely ask him, like, hey, how are you feeling about this moment? Like, that's really cool to see their friendship be at that kind of level.
So we're here a year on. As you can see, still IV lying in my veins. The song's out after a very bumpy road. We got there in the end. We managed to get it out. And I guess, like, if I had to think of a word to summarize it all, it would probably just be gratitude and appreciation. That I think that when you have these stumbles and these falls and these roadblocks, it makes you appreciate when you finally get to that, the finishing line and get it over the edge, and it means so much more than if this had been a walk in the park, you know?
That's interesting that he's talking about that gratitude and appreciation. And a lot of times a stumbling block for a lot of my clients is that they get caught up on focusing so much on the challenges, the bumps on the road like he talked about, that there's no space for gratitude or appreciation. It's just like, oh, what's the next thing that's gonna go wrong? And they continue anticipating that. And that's basically, in a nutshell, that's what trauma does to you, is that you're so focused on, like, I gotta figure out where the next thing is coming from, where the next danger, the next threat is coming from, that you can't appreciate, you can't have gratitude for the journey because you're so fixated on what's gonna happen next or what danger is coming up. And this is not a knock on people who struggle with trauma. Like, that's part of my job, is to walk with you on that journey until we can get to the place where those fears are not so overpowering and we can have some space for the gratitude, some space for the appreciation. But it's just cool to see him articulate that at the end of a very difficult music video to film.
And I think it also adds a layer of intensity to it that wouldn't have existed. Almost like, you know, like this was literally, without even making it sound dramatic, this was literally like my vision on the line, like my sight on the line. And I know.
Yeah, I can hear him getting emotional as he's talking about this. And so this is what I want to be clear also. Having resilience, healing from trauma does not mean that those things no longer affect you. Like, it's real to be scared that you could have lost your vision. Like, there was a real risk there. And healing from trauma is not minimalizing or trivializing that, but just to say, like, I can hold that sadness, I can hold that fear without also losing some of the enjoyment of life and the gratitude that I can have for what we've been through and where we're at now.
I feel so lucky to have music as an anchor in amongst those moments, because I know that a lot of people will watch this, right? And they'll think you're stupid, just rest. Just like take it easy because it's not worth it. But because of the nature of what I have, these things happen randomly anyway, right? They pop up anyway. It's just something I've got to deal with. And if I didn't have that anchor, and maybe if I'm looking after, like, because, and anyone with autoimmune conditions can attest to this, you can be living like a saint and looking after yourself so well, do everything perfectly, and still these flare-ups happen. And so having this anchor and this avenue of like alchemy for me, it gives me something at the end to go, I did that. I think that's good, dude, sorry.
Yeah, that's fucking good.
Cool.
So, and first of all, again, the relationships between Ren and his friends, his crew, really cool to watch. Comfortable with physical contact, being able to talk about feelings, and still make jokes, have fun with each other. Great to see. I'll also say that what he's talking about is ACT, basically. Acceptance and commitment therapy. He's accepted that he's living with this condition, and he's recognized the realities of, like, I could lose my vision, I could be bedridden for a couple of months at a time. He also holds that there's a life worth living out there. So he's not trying to avoid or reject the truth of his condition, but what he said, especially with these autoimmune conditions that are so unpredictable, like you said, you could live like a saint and try to keep it all under control, but then it'll still flare up with something. And so he has a value towards that creativity, that musicianship that he is driving towards. And so for him, it's worth it to keep creating music, to keep creating videos, because that's a higher value to him than just, you know, living his life clean and trying to preserve his health at any cost. And so yeah, some people might disagree with that because they hold different values, but that's the way that he's chosen to live his life, and he's comfortable with that decision. And I'm grateful to him for that, for creating some awesome music, for being willing to share it so freely with people. This was definitely an emotional video to watch. A lot of stuff with trauma, even though he never specifically says the word, I don't think, but there's a lot in terms of his history with this condition that's impacting how he reacts and responds to it currently. And so that was really cool to see, for him to document all of that and for him to have recorded videos from so far back that creates this consistent narrative of how he is learning to cope and how he has learned to cope with this struggle. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Please do suggest any other videos of Ren that I might react to. But in the meantime, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all next time.